All right. After that, the next day, flew back from there, drove out to Las Vegas to for this is our biggest event of the year, and it was really successful. We had a open source digital radio exhibit at Defcon, which is a big hacker conference in Las Vegas every year. And DEF CON's divided up in many different ways. But one of the ways is to geographically between and subject matter wise into villages. So we are at the Radio Frequency Village. No big surprise there. It's the one of the oldest villages. It's one of the biggest, and it's in the middle of the main floor. It's supported by a fantastic all-volunteer team. The demos that we brought were Locutus, which is our modem, the minimum shift keying modem. Lead Matthew Wishick. This was a live demo, Pluto SDR to a spectrum analyzer, which caught a lot of eyeballs. It was very attention getting to have the beautiful spectrum there on the table. You could see it from across the hall. Locus, which is our conference server. This is a live demonstration of it working. It's first public demonstration for that. We demonstrated Interlocutor. This is live. This is the radio human interface. The first target was running on a Raspberry Pi, but it can run anywhere pretty much where there's Python. We have instructions now in the repository for Macintosh, for Raspberry Pi, and we're working on Windows, trying to get that edited down so that you can install it on Windows. This is a live demonstration, multi-station with headphones and a microphone, keyboard, and people were able to actually use it there at the booth or at the tables. We had a floor model of the RFBitBanger kit. So we had a built board and a link directly to our eBay, which ORI has an eBay account, and the kit can be picked up there. That was very successful. Answered a whole lot of questions about RFBitBanger. We had a regulatory poster session, so we demonstrated some of our regulatory work through a poster and answered lots of questions. I'd say the vast majority were very positive, with one skeptic. And then we had Ribbit as a poster session. So our Ribbit volunteer was not able to make it this year due to last minute conflict, but we did have really cool Ribbit stickers, and we talked about it, and many people already knew about it and had used it. So that was very gratifying to see a project that people recognized. We also had a demonstration of open source synthetic aperture radar. So we had a radar demo on cantennas with GNU Radio and a Pluto SDR. So as long as you already own a laptop, the Pluto SDR or any equivalent SDR is $200 to $300, and cantennas are practically free. You will need some cables and a stub wire antenna or some other sort of antenna to go into the can, of course. But you can do some pretty advanced radar. What this demonstration was based upon is a MIT courseware, sort of open courseware class on using the cantenna with radar. The MIT class uses MATLAB scripts. What the Ed Friesma did was he adapted it to GNU Radio and to kind of like move it into a little more modern framework with modern SDRs. So all of that was at two tables. We had a really nice poster and an on-air light, thanks to Paul Williamson. We did 20 hours over 3 days. So the two tables were staffed for 20 hours over 3 days. We had a crew of 6 people planned, but 4 attended. 2 folks had to back out because of issues and conflicts. Hotel and travel was donated, and we will be reimbursing 1 human badge to one of the volunteers. All the rest were donated or were provided by the village. We were filmed for DEF CON TV, and we were interviewed by DEF CON staff. We also had conversations with some of the people from Policy Village, active in regulatory work. So that was neat. Something that we took back with us, had an excellent conversation with some people that know a whole lot more about accessibility deployments and integrations than I do, or that we do. We are very committed to making Interlocutor and our other radio projects for Opulent Voice as accessible as possible. if you can't see or can't hear, if you have mobility challenges or cognitive challenges, we want this to be the easiest radio product you've ever encountered. And we got a real good tip on a relatively new font. It's the Atkinson's Hyperlegible font. This is from the Braille Institute, and we're going to go ahead and integrate it into Interlocutor. It's pretty fantastic. It was introduced in 2019 and won a design award in 2024. It has gained a lot of traction in a number of communities. It really is very readable. So we will try it out. And the idea now is to go ahead and integrate it. I think Paul already raised the point that we probably want to make this configurable. And my response was, you can have any font you like as long as it's legible. So we'll see. Anyway, that's one of the things we brought back with us. Remarkable set of conversations. People really did appreciate the work that we've done to make this an accessible radio product. Here's what it looked like. This is set up with our crew setting up the tables. This is we're at the very front edge of RF Village. So we are pretty much the first thing that people see when they walk into this very large village on a very large Las Vegas Convention Center floor. You can see on the right, that is Locutus. That's our modem demonstration. And that's the MSK signal on a spectrum analyzer, proven that it's there. Here is RFBitBanger and the floor model and stickers and our regulatory poster so that folks can read up. This is what the full, like from left to right, this is all of Opulent Voice. On the left-hand side is the modem demonstration, and we have modem looking at the bit error rate. We then have our A5, our authentication and authorization explanatory poster in the middle. And then on the right is two stations to use Opulent Voice live, and that is Interlocutor and Locutus running on hardware in front of you. It's a little close-up of the end, so there's some of the shiny stickers. That's what it looks like when you're standing right in front of it. That's what it looks like when you're standing right in front of the Interlocutor demo. So things went really well. I think my back, feet, and legs are almost recovered. As you know, booth duty can be a little tiring, but it was so worth it and really invigorating and wonderful to talk to so many enthusiastic people there because they love radio and they love protocols and things over the air and things working and hands-on demos. So it's one of the best shows, and we had a blast. Another item, this is very recent as of today. We work with the University of Puerto Rico, and they had a successful RockSat-X launch with Opulent Voice. This uses a slightly older version. This is the FSK version and not the MSK version. But that is a couple of happy students from the University of Puerto Rico right after they received successful transmission from space from Opulent Voice. And there's the whole team. Oscar Resto is the instructor, and he's on the far right. And I think that's as happy as you are ever going to see him. And this is a bunch of happy students. So that's a bunch of good news and lots of things that happened over the past week. And I think I'll stop sharing, and then I'll turn it over to Paul for any sort of extensions and corrections and additions.
Okay, I think you covered the demos really well. I spent most of my time standing behind that table with the Opulent Voice demos and walking people through the reason for its existence and what they were seeing. And occasionally I got a chance to actually put headphones on people's heads and demo what it sounded like, and everybody was uniformly impressed by that. I was pleased because I gave it a big build up, and it's really possible to react to that by saying, well, okay, it's good, but it's not that good. But everybody said it was good. And it's hard to hear in the hall too. So pretty loud, even with the closed ear headphones. We had the transmitting Pluto was also receiving in loopback, and then the independent Pluto was receiving the signal independently. people had a little hard time figuring out why we wanted loopback. So if they asked about that, I gave them the story about how we got there incrementally and had to use loopback in order to control some of the variables before we had all the tracking loops working. And I got some mix of glazed expressions and knowing nods to that explanation. Um, Over on the other side, where we're forced by our current state of completion to fake things with an Ethernet instead of actually doing them over the radio, um, people understood that right away that you're not able to always demonstrate everything in completion. Um, I think that pretty much covers it. We had um, three user stations. Two of them were on nearly identical Raspberry Pi setups, and you can also spot in the pictures MacBook Air, which was doing its thing all by itself without any help from a Raspberry Pi. Um, and there was a fourth device, another Raspberry Pi that was running Locus. It was kind of hidden behind the signage because it's a behind the scenes cheat compared to having an actual satellite. Otherwise, I got good responses from everybody, and everybody from knowledgeable, a couple of people who were really, really knowledgeable about this kind of systems who nodded and actually talked ahead of me, were, and say, "Oh, what about this?" And I said, "Well, yeah, you're right. We did that." And other people who know very little about radio in general and just wandered in because it's another village to wander into. And they didn't quite understand it as deeply, but hopefully they came away with a better understanding than we started.
Yeah, thank you. The experience was really good. There's a lot of people who would walk up to us um, and say, I'm really interested in radio and I know absolutely nothing. And it was really nice to be able to talk to people that were truly interested and then figure out where you at. Are you coming from more of a hardware side or are you very comfortable with software? Because right now with software defined radio, you come from the software side, now you have to learn a little bit of hardware, which can be kind of mind bending. And if you're a traditional sort of hardware radio person, now you're adding software to it, and that can be kind of mind bending too. So lots of folks in this really interdisciplinary time for software defined radio with genuine enthusiasm and had multiple conversations with people trying to get them a little further, get some practical radio directions. One of the nice things about Defcon is that it has a ham radio village and they do exams. Um, and it just so happens that Defcon has the record for the largest amateur radio exam session in the United States. It mints a lot of new hams. So multiple people were like, yeah, I've signed up for the test, but like, what do I do next? I've got my license, now what? And it's always wonderful to be able to talk to people and reinforce their natural enthusiasm for this and said, there is a there. There's so much out there, so many amazing things to do. You're going to have such a good time. And if you don't, get back in touch with us. We will help you. you know, Another neat thing was a lot of people who did have a basics in radio, and they're like, okay, so the software-defined radio, like it seems like the learning curve is vertical. What am I missing? And for the most part, it was complex baseband. It was IQ modulation. They're like, why is this cool? I don't understand it. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't understand some of the code I'm seeing. Why do I care about these samples? So, if you get sampling theory and you understand that, then a little bit of basics, just a little bit more to understand why IQ modulation is so powerful. And then it's like, oh, that's the sort of the crystal seed for the next big step forward into radio. So really nice event. It's very rare that you get the size of this sort of crowd and the sort of the genuine enthusiasm and curiosity for radio and also a willingness to dive in and hands on and experiment, try things out. So really good event. And I've already picked up a few folks, I think, joining us, joining the newsletter. And hopefully we'll see a few of those folks on Slack. We did run into several people who were very, very proficient with FPGAs, and we learned that they are very much in demand. Uh, I think we ran into one person who sounded like their retirement had been quite delayed because they really couldn't leave because so it looks like there's a shortage of people that know FPGA design that also know digital signal processing that are comfortable with hardware. That's sort of a Venn diagram where there aren't that many folks in that category. So I don't know if you're interested in this sort of work, you can get there through open source and there's lots of demand out there for that sort of stuff. We heard that several times sitting there at the booth.